Hey y'all, how are you? I miss you guys so much. I hope everyone is doing well. It is actually Wednesday of spring break week, and probably just like you, my spring break has been spent in the house doing kind of the same thing that I've been doing for the last week. So I've been working on some stuff to do with you guys, but I've also been doing an online class, which I sent you that email. So most of you know, if you read your emails, that I'm doing an online class. So like you, I am actually working on classwork. I'm watching videos and reading articles, and I have to do assignments that go along with it. So you and we're all right there together. I am really excited about this next chapter, which is why I'm posting it over spring break. I know that some of you have been asking for chapter 24, and you plan on doing it before even spring break ends, and that's totally fine. Those of you that don't want to do this yet, you don't have to. Just do make sure that come next week, you are caught up with the chapters that we've read so far and the information that's been in our Tuck packet so far. Because there will be a test over Tuck Everlasting, and the test will be open book and open note. The notes will help you, especially if you have checked your notes with the keys that I've been posting on Google Classroom. So make sure you're doing that. Be responsible with that stuff, because as long as you're keeping up with everything, this is not going to be overwhelming at all. It's going to be very manageable. It should be things that you can do on your own. So let's get started. We left off with chapter 23, and in chapter 23, Winnie had already told Jessie that she was willing to help the Tuck family escape. And what she was going to do was she was going to climb into the jail cell and take the place of May, so that the constable would be none the wiser in May actually crawling out of the jail window and getting away with her family. We talked about moral dilemmas, because this is definitely a moral dilemma, but it's one that Winnie is feeling very strongly or passionately about. So it is the middle of the night, and she had fallen asleep, and the grandfather clock in her hallway started to ring, and it woke her up, and she thought that she had missed her opportunity to go, but she did not. She hadn't missed her opportunity. So that's where chapter 23 ends and where chapter 24 begins. So Winnie is about to leave her house again. And y'all know how that worked out the first time. She thought she was going to safely just go into the woods, and nobody would even really realize that she was gone. She'd be back before anybody woke up. Well, she ended up being kidnapped, and it ended up being days later that she was returned home. Well, now she's leaving the house again. And not only is she leaving the house, but she's leaving in the middle of the night. So it becomes a whole nother set of issues. So this is where chapter 24 picks up, and I would like for you guys to follow along with me. It starts on page 121. I will wait while you get your books, or if your book is downstairs and you're upstairs and you need some time, pause the video and go get your book so that you can follow along with me. Do 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 do. Do 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 bum 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 bum. All right, here we go. Chapter 24, page 121. Leaving the house was so easy that Winnie felt faintly shocked. She had half expected that the instant she put a foot on the stairs, they would leap from their beds and surround her with accusations. But no one stirred, and she was struck by the realization that if she chose, she could slip out night after night without their knowing. The thought made her feel more guilty than ever that she should once more take advantage of their trust. But tonight, this one last time, she had to. There was no other way. She opened the door and slipped out into the heavy August night. Leaving the cottage was like leaving something real and moving into a dream. Her body felt weightless, and she seemed to float down the path to the gate. Jessie was there waiting. Neither of them spoke. He took her hand, and they ran together lightly down the road, past other sleeping cottages, into the dim and empty center of the village. The big glass windows here were lidded eyes that didn't care, that barely saw them, barely gave them back reflections. The blacksmith shop, the mill, the church, the store, so busy and alive in daylight, were hunched, deserted now, dark piles and shapes without a purpose or a meaning. And then ahead, Winnie saw the jailhouse, its new wood still unpainted, lamplight spilling through a window at the front. And there, in the cleared yard behind it, like a great L upside down, was the gallows. The sky flashed white, but this time it wasn't heat lightning, for a few moments later a low mumble, still far away, announced at last the coming storm. A fresh breeze lifted Winnie's hair, and from somewhere in the village behind them a dog barked. Two shadows detached themselves from the gloom as Winnie and Jessie came up. Tuck pulled her to him and hugged her hard, and Miles squeezed her hand. No one said a word. Then the four of them crept to the back of the building. Here, too high for Winnie to see into, was a barred window through which, from the room in front, light glowed faintly. Winnie peered up at it, at the blackness of the bars with the dim gold of the light between. Into her head came lines from an old poem. Stone walls do not make a prison, nor iron bars a cage. Over and over the lines repeated themselves in her head till they were altogether meaningless. Another roll of thunder sounded. The storm was moving nearer. Then Miles was standing on a box. He was pouring oil around the frame of the window. A swirl of wind brought the thick, rich smell of it down to Winnie's nostrils. Tuck handed up a tool, and Miles began to pry at the nails securing the window frame. Miles knew carpentering. Miles could do the job. Winnie shivered and held tight to Jessie's hand. One nail was free. Another. Tuck reached up to receive them as they came out one by one. A fourth nail screeched as it was pried up, and Miles poured on more oil. From the front of the jailhouse, the constable yawned noisily and began to whistle. The whistling came nearer. Miles dropped down. They heard the constable's footsteps coming up to May's cell. The bar door clanked. Then the footsteps receded, and the whistling grew fainter. An inner door shut, and the lamp glow disappeared. So the constable came in to check on May. So May was probably laying on the bed in the jail cell, and the constable came to check and see that she was asleep or she was still there. So this then is the reason why it becomes such a good idea for Winnie to go in and kind of act as if she were May on the bed just asleep. So this confirms that this becomes a good idea. The only thing is here's Winnie putting herself in danger for this whole thing. Not even in danger as far as like being arrested, but in danger as far as what her parents are going to say about this, what her grandmother's going to say about this. Even the talk of the town. This 10-year-old girl puts herself in jail to save the criminals from the town jail, this brand new jail that's supposed to be able to keep criminals in, and someone ends up escaping from it. Ooh, yeah. All right. At once, Miles was up again and prying at the nails. An eighth nail was out, a ninth, a 10th. Winnie counted carefully while behind her counting, her mind sang, stone walls do not a prison make. Miles handed down the prying tool. He grasped the bars on the window firmly, ready to pull, and stood poised. What is he waiting for? Thought Winnie. Why doesn't he? Then a flash of lightning, and soon after a crack of thunder. In the midst of the noise, Miles gave a mighty heave, but the window did not budge. The thunder ebbed. Winnie's heart sank. What if it was all impossible? What if the window would never come out? What if... She looked over her shoulder at the dark shape of the gallows and shuddered. You can just imagine what she's thinking. What if? And then she looks at the gallows. What do you think she's thinking? Yeah. What if they can't get May out and she ends up going to the gallows? But I do want to go back real quick. In that last paragraph, it says Winnie didn't understand what Miles was waiting for. As he was holding on to the bars, he had taken all of the nails out of the window, and he's holding on to these bars, and he's trying to pull the window out of the wall of the jail. So what was he waiting for? She says, why doesn't he? Then a flash of lightning, and soon after a crack of thunder. And in the midst of the noise, so while the thunder is going off right over them or just down from them, he pulls on the window. Why do you think that would be an important thing for him to do? Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. He's pulling on this window knowing that it could make noise when he pulls the window out of the wall. So he's waiting for that crack of thunder so that he can pull at the same time. And the constable won't hear the window coming out of the wall. He'll just think that he heard the crash of thunder. Smart. Smart. All right, here we go. This is the third paragraph on page 124. Again, a flash of lightning, and this time a crashing burst of noise from the swirling sky. Miles yanked. The window frame sprang free, and still grasping it by the bars, he tumbled backward off the box. The job was done. 2 arms appeared in the hole left by the missing frame. May. Her head appeared. Well, it was too dark to see her face. The window, what if it was too small for her to squeeze through? What if... But now her shoulders were out. She groaned softly. Another flash of lightning lit her face for an instant, and Winnie saw an expression there of deep concentration. Tip of tongue protruding, brows furrowed. So she is working hard to get herself out of that window frame, or out of that window, the hole that the window actually was there, where the window was. Now Tuck was on the box helping her, giving her his own shoulders to pull on. Miles and Jessie close at his sides, arms upstretched, eager to receive her bulk. Her hips were free now. Look out! Here she came, her skirts tearing on the rough edges of the boards, arms flailing, and they were all in a heap on the ground. Another crash of thunder muffled Jessie's bursting, exultant laugh. May was free. So Jessie is so relieved and so happy that May was out of the jail that here they are. And it is kind of funny if you think about it. So visualize this, picture this. You have May halfway out of the jail through the window hole. She's holding on to Tuck. Miles and Jessie are on both sides of her. They all kind of do a big heave at once while there's lightning, again, for the same reason that they didn't want the constable to hear before. It's that same thing. She comes flying out. They all fall back. They're all laying in a heap on the ground. So now here's the entire Tuck family, and all they can do is just laugh because it worked, and she's free. For how long? And is the second part of their plan going to work? We're going to find out right now. Winnie clasped her trembling hands thankfully, and then the first drop of rain plopped precisely on the tip of her nose. The Tucks untangled themselves and turned to her. One by one, as the rain began, they drew her to them and kissed her. One by one, she kissed them back. Was it rain on May's face, or Tuck's, or was it tears? Jessie was last. He put his arms around her and hugged her tight and whispered the single word, remember. Then Miles was on the box again, lifting her. Her hands grasped the edges of the window. This time she waited with him. When the thunder came, it tore the sky apart with its roar. And as it came, she pulled herself through and dropped to the cot inside, unharmed. So now she's in, and she's on the cot. She looked up at the open square and saw the frame with Miles's hands holding it. The next obliging roll of thunder saw it wedged once more into place. So the thunder, there's a crack of thunder, and she goes in, falls down onto the cot, she's in. She turns around to look back up at the square that was the window and sees that Miles's hands are there holding the bars of that window and kind of pushing it back into place. But he's waiting for the thunder. So when the thunder strikes again, or the thunder sounds again, roars again, he's going to push that all the way in place. And then would Miles put back the nails? She waited. So she's wondering, like, how thorough is he going to be with this? Rain came in sheets now, riding the wind, flung crosswise through the night. Lightning crackled a brilliant, jagged streak, and thunder rattled the little building. The tension in the parched earth eased and vanished. Winnie felt it go. The muscles of her stomach loosened, and all at once, she was exhausted. Still she waited. Would Miles put back the nails? At last, standing tiptoe on the cot, she grasped the bars of the window, pulling herself up till she could just see through. So she's looking through. Rain blew into her face, but at the next flash of lightning, looking down, she saw that the yard was empty. And before the thunder followed in a pause, while wind and rain held back for one brief moment, she thought she heard, fading in the distance, the tinkling little melody of the music box. The Tucks, her darling Tucks, were gone. So that's it. The plan worked as of now. However, we still don't know what's going to happen. Is the constable going to come in and see her on that cot and believe that it was May? Is he going to open up the jail cell to double check on her? Like, where do we go from here? But the Tucks are gone. So Winnie kind of did fulfill her duty with helping them out in this situation. But I'm kind of sad. So we'll find out. Chapter 25 is next. Here's the deal. There is only one part left of the entire packet. What? Chapters 23 and 24, which I am going to work on tonight. 23 and 24. There are 3 vocabulary on the front. 2 vocabulary on the back. Then there's some cause and effect questions. And then 1 inference. And the inference we actually talked about. So if you're paying close attention to what we discussed when we read chapter 24, you won't have any problem answering that question. Tomorrow, I will post the answer key for 23 and 24. And then I will also go on to read chapters 25 and maybe even the epilogue. I might wait until Friday to do the epilogue. We'll see. Remember, remote learning officially starts on Monday. So it's important that starting on Monday, you are checking your Google Classroom every day because we are going to be working on Tuck Everlasting, kind of finishing that up. There's a couple activities that I want to do that go with that to wrap it up. Plus there's the Tuck Everlasting test, which is open book and open note. And then we're going to be moving on to something new. And, ooh, I cannot even. I'm so excited about it, but I'm holding my tongue. Yeah, there's an idiom for you. I am holding my tongue on this one. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag. Ooh, there's another one. And we'll talk soon. I love you all. I miss you. Hugs and kisses.